Photosynthetic organisms include plants, algae, and some bacteria. Photosynthesis is a process that converts light energy into chemical energy, creating glucose and releasing oxygen. It happens during the daytime, when sunlight is available. The process has two parts, the light reactions and the Calvin cycle, and these happen in the chloroplast of plant cells. The light reactions happen in the thylakoid membranes, and then the Calvin cycle happens in the stroma. The light reactions use light energy, water, ADP, and NADP+. They produce oxygen as a waste product, and ATP and NADPH. Chlorophyll, the pigment in plants, absorbs light energy that splits water into electrons, protons, and oxygen. The light absorbed also drives the transfer of electrons and hydrogen ions from water and the acceptor NADP+. The NADP+ is reduced to NADPH by adding 2 electrons and a hydrogen ion, which generates ATP. The ATP and NADPH from the light reactions move on to the Calvin cycle, along with carbon dioxide, where they are transformed into glucose. The NADPH has gathered a cargo of electrons that reduce the fixed carbon to carbohydrate. This converts carbon dioxide to glucose. The Calvin cycle also releases NADP+, ADP, and inorganic phosphate, which is recycled to be used in the light reactions again. Plants use certain wavelengths of light, specifically in the blue and red regions. They reflect green light. Some plants are black, dark, and red because they have anthocyanins, which protect them from being damaged by certain types of light. When the concentration of anthocyanin is high, the plant absorbs more wavelengths of light, and that makes the plant appear to be dark or even black. Some plants are not photosynthetic, so they do not obtain their energy through photosynthesis. These types of plants are parasites to plants and fungi that are photosynthetic. They extract water, carbon, and other nutrients from a host plant instead of absorbing light from the sun. Plants use both oxygen and carbon dioxide. They use carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and oxygen for cellular respiration. However, plants are a net producer of oxygen because it is released in photosynthesis. Plants evolved to photosynthesize through endosymbiosis, where a plant engulfed cyanobacteria, which became the chloroplast of the plant cell. There are different types of plants that perform photosynthesis, including C3, C4, and CAM plants. C3 photosynthesis is the most common, but C4 and CAM plants evolved to be able to complete the process in warmer environments when plant cells can't absorb carbon dioxide without losing too much water.
Living organisms do cellular respiration as it is the most common way for ATP to be made. Cellular respiration is the process of converting organic molecules into usable chemical energy, adenosine triphosphate. Cellular respiration is only done when oxygen and glucose are present. Cellular respiration becomes fermentation in the absence of oxygen. The steps of cellular respiration are glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain, and the process strips electrons from glucose in order to power the electron transport chain. Cellular respiration is done in the mitochondria, but also in the cytosol, and is an exergonic reaction. Why do we need so much oxygen? Oxygen is one of the reactants during cellular respiration. Without it, we do fermentation, which isn't sustainable and only produces 2 ATP per glucose. Regular cellular respiration can make around 38 ATP. ATP is necessary to power many endergonic reactions in cells, and without it our body would shut down. Why does CO2 fluctuate throughout the year? Cellular respiration produces CO2, and photosynthesis uses CO2. CO2 levels tend to fluctuate throughout the year based on the season. Many plants tend to lose their leaves during fall and winter, meaning less photosynthesis will be done. Additionally, the plants that do not lose their leaves have less time during the day to capture light. These things cause an increase in CO2 because of the lack of photosynthesis. Likewise, during the spring and summer, there is more daytime and leaves are regrown, so more CO2 is used and it's decreased from the atmosphere.
Chemosynthesis is a process done by chemoautotrophs such as bacteria and archaea. These organisms use chemical reactions to turn energy into food without the input of sunlight. Because these chemical reactions don't require sunlight, they can happen at any time. Chemosynthesis happens in environments with no sunlight such as the deep sea, caves, and underground. Organisms take inorganic substances and turn them into organic compounds. Reactants include inorganic compounds and carbon dioxide, and products include food molecules and byproducts such as sulfur. An example of an organism that does chemosynthesis is the symbiotic bacteria on giant tube worms near deep-sea hydrothermal vents. The bacteria convert hydrogen sulfide into food for the tube worms. Chemosynthetic organisms have not evolved to use light for food because they don't have access to light, and they have abundant access to inorganic chemicals to use for energy. There are very few chemosynthetic organisms on land because there is easy access to the sun's large amount of energy. So most organisms will do photosynthesis instead. There's also more limited access to the inorganic compounds that these organisms use for their chemical energy compared to places like the deep sea. Fermentation is an anaerobic process that most living organisms perform, converting pyruvate into alcohol or lactic acid. This process begins in the cytoplasm of cells after glycolysis if oxygen isn't present. In glycolysis, one glucose molecule is broken down into two pyruvate molecules. In alcoholic fermentation, this pyruvate is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. In lactic acid fermentation, the pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. During these conversions, the NAD+ molecule is regenerated. Fermentation is needed in the human body because it quickly provides a small amount of energy during short bursts of time when oxygen is not available. Humans perform lactic acid fermentation, which leaves the lactic acid product, while yeast and other eukaryotes perform alcoholic fermentation, which leaves ethanol and carbon dioxide products. These organisms perform fermentation to regenerate NAD+, so glycolysis can continue and produce ATP for the cell, but their end products are different. Humans evolved to be able to perform fermentation, but to be able to provide a little bit of energy when there is no oxygen. Fermentation is a quicker process than aerobic respiration, but it does not yield very much ATP. The inputs are glucose, 2-ADP, and 2-inorganic phosphate. Glucose is in the form of pyruvate previously broken down in glycolysis. The final outputs are lactic acid and 2-ATP.
Prokaryotes and other domains, bacteria and archaea, have many different ways to get energy. Prokaryotic energy flow is the process by which different prokaryotes get energy in different ways to make ATP. Prokaryotes have their electron transport chain in the plasma membrane. Because prokaryotes don't have many membrane-bound organelles, they do not use chloroplasts or mitochondria, but they can be photosynthetic and use chlorophyll. Like all living organisms, these processes take place constantly. They may require light energy, carbon dioxide, chemical compounds, or organic compounds, and they may get these from phagocytosis. There are many different processes that prokaryotes do in order to get energy. This includes aerobic and anaerobic respiration, using oxygen and inorganic molecules as the final electron acceptor, photosynthesis, using chlorophyll or rhodopsin, and using inorganic molecules as an energy source. Prokaryotes have a diverse variety of energy sources and processes because they live in many different environments with different needs for energy sources. Prokaryotes such as bacteria are known for their fast ability to evolve and adapt to new environments, and therefore have many different energy sources and metabolic processes.